Welcome to Dive Deeper.
Hi guys, it's me, Melissa again.
All right, well, the section that I wrote for tonight is a little long, so I think that we should save some time by keeping the intro short.
Good idea. Here's our warm-up question. If you could know one thing from the future, what would it be?
Well, Melissa, what stood out to you this week?
Oliver, I'll be honest. The last couple of weeks have been really hard to pick out just one thing because there's so much good stuff in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But the part that I picked out for today is verse 7. Do you mind reviewing that for us?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 says this. Keep on asking, and you will be given what you ask for. Keep on looking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be opened.
Thanks. Now, if there's one thing that I've heard my professor say over and over again while I've been going to school, it's that when the Bible repeats itself, we should listen.
Yeah, that sounds like good advice.
It really, really is. And what repeats in this Bible verse are the words keep on asking, searching, talking to God about what you need. But I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I have trouble trying to talk to God. And I definitely have trouble with staying motivated to keep things up long term. So sometimes putting these two things together is doubly hard.
Yeah, that does sound hard. So what do you do about it?
Well, every time I fall off the wagon, so to speak, I just get back on. Sometimes it takes a while, but to get back into it, but the important thing is that I try, and every time I come back, God is waiting for me with open arms and unconditional love. It can be really, really hard work, but it's totally worth it.
Definitely worth it. And isn't there a story somewhere in the Bible that shows the benefit of not giving up?
Yeah, there is. And it's at the beginning of chapter 18 in the book of Luke, which is 2 books past Matthew where we're studying right now. Jesus told his disciples a story about a widow who wanted justice against someone who had mistreated her. But the judge didn't really care and he kept ignoring her. But she kept going back to him over and over and over. And finally, she drove him so crazy that he finally gave her justice.
So the moral of the story is that God will eventually go crazy if we keep talking to him?
No. The point is that God wants ongoing communication. He already knows what we need and what we desire and whether or not he's going to give us those things, what we ask for. But he wants us to keep coming to him anyway with the good and the bad all the time. You can't wear him out.
Got it. All right, so discussion time.
So our discussion question is actually twofold today. First, do you find it hard to take things continually to God? What can help you motivate, what can help motivate you to keep on?
And second, have you ever had an answer to prayer because you were persistent? Take a minute to share with your group.
All right, Oliver, what stood out to you this week?
But like you said, there's so much good stuff in Matthew chapter 7. It was hard to decide on what to focus on. So I know that we've left some great stuff for you guys to talk about after we're done our sections. You can talk about what you read in your groups, like the golden rule and building your house on the rock as opposed to the sand. But what I wanted to talk about is the section where Jesus talks about judging other people.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like people in our culture love that section. They'll often say, Jesus said don't judge, or only God can judge me.
Yeah, you're right. But let's look closer at what Jesus exactly says. So in verse 1, he does say, do not judge others, and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. But sometimes people take this saying of Jesus and they think that it means like, no one can ever tell me what I'm doing is bad, or no one can ever confront my behavior because Jesus said don't judge.
Yeah, lots of people think Jesus means that. But if you look at verse 3 to 5, Jesus says this, And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying to your friend, "Let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye," when you can't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite! First get rid of the log in your own eye, then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye.
Right. So this is a classic metaphor. Like, it's just such a stark image of thinking of having this like huge piece of wood stuck right in your eyeball and then trying to like do surgery on your friend's eye.
Right, that would be dangerous and stupid.
Yeah.
So then why do you say this isn't about never confronting other people's behavior?
Right. So if you look at that last verse, Jesus actually tells us to deal with the speck in our friend's eye. He doesn't say, never try to help your friend with the speck in their eye. He just says, don't be a hypocrite about it. His point is that we shouldn't be confronting other people's behavior if we're doing the same bad thing.
Right. So, like, if you confront a friend about gossiping, but then you love to hear the story someone is telling you about someone else, you're being a hypocrite because you're participating in gossip too.
Yeah, exactly. But Jesus says you do need to help your friend if they have a speck in their eye. We all need friends who call us out when we're doing something bad. It's just that it's not very good or it's not very helpful to do that if we're being a hypocrite. But we should deal with the stuff in our own life and then try to help each other as friends become better people.
Okay, that is a lot different than when people say, Jesus says you can't judge me.
Right. So if we really care about our friends, we will confront them when they're doing something bad. And if they really are a good friend to us, they'll call us out and we'll welcome that. And this relates to one of the supplementary verses, one of the supplementary readings that I gave you guys for these last couple weeks. It was in 1 Corinthians 5, verses 9 to 13. And in verse 12, Paul writes, "It isn't my responsibility to judge outsiders, like non-Christians. But it certainly is your responsibility to judge those inside the church who are sinning." So here he says, we're not supposed to judge people who aren't Christians. Of course, like, they're not gonna live up to Jesus' standard for behavior. They're not trying to. But if someone is our friend and they're trying to follow Jesus, we should confront them about stuff in their life that isn't the way Jesus wants them to live.
Okay, that's a lot. But let's get practical now for our discussion. So we need to not be hypocritical and judge others when we're doing the same thing. But we need to also confront our friends in a loving way when they're doing something bad.
Yeah, so why don't we discuss that, what that might look like for us in our Dive Deeper groups? Like, are you open to having the other people in your group call you out on stuff in your life? Like, are you at the point in your Christian life that you're ready to be confronted and actually to recognize that your group is calling you out in love to help you become more like Jesus? So talk about how you can do that as a group in a way that's loving and that you will receive.
Okay, so to put that into a question, are you willing to be confronted by this group about stuff in your life that isn't good? And how can we do that in a loving way?
All right, well, I hope that was a beneficial discussion.
There's still lots of stuff in Matthew 7 for you to talk about, or maybe you read some supplementary chapters these last 2 weeks and you have something cool to share or a question that you had.
All right, well, go ahead and share with your group now.